What is up, Raffleators? Welcome back to my channel. It is Monday afternoon. It's Easter Monday. It's about 5 o'clock in the afternoon in Georgetown, Guyana. It's a national holiday and it's the day for kite flying. It's Easter. So I thought I'd come out here and check out the national park. This is the line of cars waiting to get into the national park on a Monday afternoon, Easter Monday afternoon. Now, what is different this year is that the government of Guyana, decided that entrance to the national park would be free this year because for the past several years, they had decided to charge a fee to enter the park. That is the National Parks Commission, basically the equivalent of the Parks Commission, decided to charge a fee to enter the national park just because it is a major venue for kite flying on Easter Monday. This year, they decided to abandon that fee, so it's free to go into the national park. Remember last year I came around the same area and I decided not to go into the national park because I was not interested in paying to get into the park. But today, it is free, and as you can see, there's a long line of cars that's looking west on Thomas Road. Right, that's looking all the way to Camp Street on Thomas Road. There are cars lined up on both sides of the road, parked on both sides of the road. And this is what it looks like at the dog park. This is the dog park here in the national park. What is different also about today from previous years is that there's not a whole lot of wind. It's not a windy day. So there's very little wind for kite flying and there are very few kites in the air. Now again, I'm probably not going to bother to go into the national park today because I think it might be better to observe from the outside here what's going on. Or in fact, I can quickly go through. Actually, let's change that. Let's see if we can get through to the other side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get through to the other side to Carifesta Avenue. Excuse me. So we're going to try to get through to Carifesta Avenue by walking through the national park. As you can see, it's a whole long line of cars waiting to get in here. Of course, there's always going to be some controversy and chaos because of that's the dog park, Wolfington Park. There's always going to be some controversy because of all of the people gathered here to use the park. So what we're going to do is try to get through the park on the regular walking path, but not because we can see any kite flying, but because it is the shortest distance to get through the park. Okay, these are the black juice.
Not no more. Some of us used to be in the church. Not no more. Not no more.
Okay, so those are the black Jews. They seem to have a parade in the park on Easter Monday, and they're chanting about the changes that they've incorporated into their lives now that they are Jews. Yeah, so this part of the park is in fact a dog walk. They've converted that into a dog walk, and it's now a good place to hang out and fly a kite on Easter Monday, but there's no wind today. Therefore, there's not a whole lot of kite flying. There are a couple of kids trying to raise their kites. So, for example, here are a couple of kids trying to raise their kites, but it's really sad because there's not a whole lot of flying going on. But I guess it is. It is also time to have a picnic in the park. So the kids who can't fly are engaged in picnic. But let me see if I can give you an estimate. I would say that at least a few thousand people gathered in the park today. A few thousand people, meaning much more, much more than a regular day at the park. In fact, I would say probably on the order of 10,000 people just from eyeballing it. Again, you can see not a whole lot of kite flying going on because there's not a whole lot of wind. It's not a windy day. Typically, because this location is near to the Atlantic Ocean, it's near to the sea, near to the seawall. This would be a windy. This would be a windy location, but in fact, we are in the rainy season. It's been raining here in Georgetown for the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, in fact, since early April. And this is one of the few days or few times when it's not windy because April is also a windy month. So what you have is mostly people playing, having a picnic, or just walking around or driving with their kites. But there's not a whole lot of flying going on because there is just not enough wind. There's just not enough wind, but there is no shortage of people. Of course, in this direction, we're eventually going to get to the other exit, the western exit of the park. This is the football field, and typically this would be a place to fly kites because it's a large open space with very few power lines and no trees. But again, because there is little or no wind, there's only one or two kites in the air. So Easter Monday, April 2025, has to be declared a bust as far as kite flying, as far as flying kites, because there's not enough wind. There's not enough wind for kite flying. Okay, let's see. Here at the edge of the field, you can get an idea for how large the crowd is here and how very little kite flying is going on. Typically, this would be the area with most of the flying. There would be hundreds of kites in the air. hundreds of kites in the air. You'll probably be able to see the kites that are all the way over at the seawall from this location. But instead, not enough wind, not enough breeze. It's a calm day, and because of that, no kites. But in fact, I think this atmosphere is much more friendly and family friendly, and celebratory. That is, it is much more typical of Easter. It's usually a calm day, Easter that is, without all of the loud uh, soca, reggae, chutney music of Mashramani, but just as many people out here celebrating the holiday. Like I said in the past, this is a national holiday in Guyana. That's Easter is a national holiday in Guyana, and it's therefore one of these holidays that is celebrated by all religious groups. It's not a religious holiday in the way that it is in some other parts of the world. And so there are no stores open, no shops open, officially that is, on Easter. But people of all religious faiths and ethnic groups, ethnicities, use the day to picnic. It's like Family Day in Canada. It's like Thanksgiving in the US. That is Easter Monday in Guyana. And that's what we see right here at the national park. Now, compared to previous years, I think there's slightly less. There's slightly less people, I believe, here in the park, even though it's free this year. I think it's slightly less than we've seen in previous years, and that's probably because of the weather, because of the rain and so on. So a lot of people probably anticipated that coming out here would be affected by the rain, and I suppose a lot of people canceled their trips. So going past the exercise area, of course, that's the sorry, that's the football field. But on the other side of the football field, this is the children's park. So from this side, you can see that's the children's park. So that's the children's park, the new children's park on the other side. On the other side of the national park from the parking lot area. But this is what's happening here in Georgetown on Easter Monday. It's still a busy day, although not a day for flying kites because there's not a whole lot of wind, not enough Not enough breeze to fly kites today. So we're going to exit on the course. It continues. Let's see. A lot of the picnic and gatherings continue on the other side around the loop. But we're going to go through the exit here at Carifesta Avenue. Of course, it's also a day for buying, shopping for Guyanese snacks. There are lots of vendors out here, but not as much as you'll find on the seawall. So we're going to head over to the seawall. We're going to head over to the seawall to see what else is happening here on Easter Monday. But that's looking across the car park, and beyond that, didn't visit, but we saw beyond that, that is the children's place. That's the children's park here at the National Park, and of course, Burroughs School of Art. But that's it, guys. That's what's happening here at the National Park. Now, on Carifesta Avenue and along Carifesta Avenue, there are all of these, what we used to call recreational lands. At this point, we're walking rather, across from what used to be one of the school grounds. A little further up the road, that way, that is where the new Hilton Hotel is going to be built. The Hilton Hotel by Assets Group is going to be built a little further up in that direction. But across the street here, this is the Ministry of Education ground. All right, that's the Ministry of Education ground. One of the recreation grounds here. So people who wonder what happens on these recreational lands, it's a day like today, that is Easter Monday, that all these recreational lands get used. And so a lot of the dispute over Assets Group building the Hilton Hotel in this neighborhood is that it takes away land that would typically be open land for gatherings like this. So that's the National Park. All these cars are lined up on Carifesta Avenue. They're widening the road here. But all these lands are important for recreation. That's the National Park. We're looking back at the National Park. So all these lands are recreational lands. And if you turn all of this land into commercial development, you build Hilton hotels or hotels along the sea shore, in other words, ocean view hotels and so on, then what you're doing is you're taking away this land that people have used for recreation on days like today. Typically, this place gets used for school sports, inter-school sports, for soccer, football. That's looking out toward the seawall. For kite flying, and for other large gatherings. And for those of you who don't understand why the mayor is rejecting the use of these lands for the construction of hotels, a day like today reveals why. Because if you have all these people in Georgetown who need a place to gather publicly for activities like kite flying on a day like today, which is a national holiday, then you need these recreational lands. You cannot can't take away from the city's open spaces. And that's what the argument is all about, right? So if you don't understand that, if you don't understand the context of Georgetown, context of Guyana, you will misunderstand what the dispute is over the land, the use of this land to build the Hilton Hotel and other hotels. But that's it, guys. That's what's happening in this neck of the woods. We're gonna head over to the seawall and see if we can see a different view of Easter Monday activities here in Georgetown, Guyana. Share this video with friends and family around the world. Let people know what's happening in the fastest growing country in the world, Guyana. Later. That's Marian Academy. It's a new private high school in this neighborhood. And over here, this is the cricket ground. Also another one of the recreational grounds. As you can see, it's quite busy. Right, it's quite occupied. It's one of the few places left where you can come and gather in large groups to do things like fly a kite. And that's why these recreational lands are important. Share this video with friends and family around the world. Let people know what's happening in the fastest growing country in the world, Guyana. Later.